there's something on this side. Is that it? Is that her?
Yep, there she is.
I found a queen.
You found a queen. There she is, right there.
Jason and I never thought we'd be beekeepers in a million years. Actually, it was probably never something that even crossed our minds.
She's a beautiful looking queen.
Beekeeping was never on Natasha and Jason Roebig's radar, but the birth of their daughter Miranda changed all that.
Jason was fly in, fly out at the time. He was working away for a month at a time and often home for only a week. So the challenge for me was I was working, I had a toddler who had eczema, and she wasn't sleeping and I wasn't sleeping, and it was a very difficult time for us just to try and get the eczema under control.
Miranda suffered severe eczema and the available topical creams brought no relief.
She was only a little baby and we'd apply the topical ointments and she'd scream and scream and scream. And yeah, okay, it did help. But we also wanted to find something that wouldn't cause that much trauma for her.
And our naturopath suggested researching the benefits of raw honey and beeswax. And we thought, oh, that's something that we'd never thought of before.
The couple bought 2 beehives and started doing their research, but they found little information that would help. So their bee education came down to some quality mentoring and a lot of trial and error.
That one looks like it could use a bit more work on the other side. We'll leave that for the girls. The more that we learned about bees, the more interesting they became to us. We learned so much about how they adapt to their environment and the different environments that they come across. We learn how they communicate with each other and how they forage for food and water sources. And we learn the difference between happy bees and unhappy bees.
Might take that one.
You're right.
They're just so industrious. They're so smart. They can teach us so much. It's not just about honey production for us, it's about pollination, how they interact, how social they are.
Armed with all they'd learned, Jason and Natasha set about finding a natural solution to Miranda's eczema.
It started pretty much with just raw honey and it was a sticky mess. It worked, like just having topical honey applied is beneficial, not so much for your bed sheets and your clothes and everything else. But then we started trialling different butters and different ratios. It was too hard, too soft, it would melt or it wouldn't melt. So it did take a lot of tweaking.
Miranda was obviously our guinea pig as such. We were trialling all of our recipes on her and we were testing the oils, the level of oils that were in the balm and how much she needed for her skin. And we realised that she was allergic to certain things, so we had to be mindful about the oils and the essential oils that we put into the product.
It gradually evolved. It wasn't any one decision that Tasha or I made. Just saw, well, we're doing some good work here. We want to keep expanding and growing, and our fascination grew. And then with that, you start developing more hives, you start getting more honey, and then it just gradually built into a business. We never actually meant to go into business. It was just a hobby that turned into a business.
In their search to help alleviate Miranda's inflamed skin, Natasha and Jason have developed a whole new respect for these hard-working foragers.
I'm passionate about getting women and children into the beekeeping industry and breaking down those barriers. So often when you ask somebody what a beekeeper looks like, they'll often refer to an older gentleman in a field with a bee suit on and a smoker tending to his beehives. But what I'm trying to communicate to anyone who wants to listen is that a beekeeper is anybody.
Not only has Miranda's eczema eased, the bee business is booming. They've got over 220 hives in untouched areas across Queensland and northern New South Wales.
The bees do all the work and make the honey, which is great. Honey sells itself. We don't need to do that. But we also had a lot of people, like market gardeners in our region, who grow their own fruit and vegetables. And they were unable to sell all their fruit and vegetables, so we thought, well, that's waste. So we reached out to a few of them, and we started repurposing some of their reject fruit, like blueberries and raspberries, and actually infused that into a creamed honey. We rescue beehives, we rehabilitate abandoned hives. We constantly getting calls for people who've got bees in their walls and their ceilings. We'll go and cut them out from the wall cavity and rehome them. And then of course we expand our colonies by, once they get too strong, we have to split them to make 2 weaker colonies. And that way they'll build up to be stronger 2 colonies later on in life.
Everyone who enters the world of bees becomes their biggest fans. They're intriguing, industrious, integral to the ecosystem, and frankly, just fun to watch.
Bees communicate with each other. They're actually quite expressive characters. So they have a waggle dance, what we call the waggle dance. And what happens is they have scout bees, and the bees go out and find food sources. And when they do find food sources, they come back to their hives and their colonies and they do a waggle dance, which communicates to other bees where they've found food sources. You know, every beekeeper that you talk to, they're still getting stung even after years and generations of beekeeping. You can't really avoid being stung. It always hurts the same. It never gets any easier. I often get asked the question, do you still get stung and does it hurt? Yes and yes.